Starting off our list at number 7, we have Migingo Island. Located in the middle of Lake Victoria between Kenya and Uganda is a tiny, rock island that resembles a floating slum more than a habitable place. Measuring just half the size of a football field, Migingo Island somehow manages to accommodate hundreds of people, making it one of the most densely populated places on Earth. The tiny island has been at the center of a long-standing territorial dispute between Kenya and Uganda, with both countries claiming ownership. This raises the question of how this obscure landmass, which was virtually unknown just a few decades ago, has become one of the most contentious locations in East Africa. In 1991, two Kenyan fishermen, Dallas Tembo and George Kibebe, arrived on Migingo Island in search of good fishing spots. They discovered the waters around the island were teeming with Nile perch, and soon more fishermen began arriving to take advantage of the abundant catch. The island underwent a rapid transformation as word spread. Metal shacks were erected, bars and lodges opened, and a miniature city emerged in the middle of Lake Victoria. However, there was a problem. The ownership of the island was unclear, with no definitive claim to which country it belonged. Uganda claimed the small island of Migingo as its territory and deployed armed security forces to patrol the surrounding waters. They accused Kenyan fishermen of illegally poaching in these waters. However, Kenya insisted that Migingo was within its borders. This dispute over the island's sovereignty has remained unresolved. But why do both Kenya and Uganda want it so badly? The valuable Nile perch fisheries around the island of Migingo are the source of the dispute between the neighboring countries. Nile perch is a lucrative export, generating millions in revenue as it is shipped to Europe, Asia, and other global markets. Whoever controls Migingo effectively controls the fishing rights in the surrounding waters. This has led both nations to deploy police, collect taxes from fishermen, and attempt to enforce their own regulations in the area, as they vie for authority over this economically important resource. The fishermen's lives have become incredibly difficult. Ugandan forces have arrested many fishermen, imposed fines, and even confiscated their equipment. Some fishermen report being forced to pay bribes just to be allowed to fish. Others complain about having to pay taxes to both Uganda and Kenya, as neither country is willing to compromise. At number 6, we have Liangshan, which has a cliff village with 72 families in it. Around 15 children regularly use a ladder to scale an 800-meter cliff on their way to and from boarding school every 2 weeks. Once a week, the villagers travel several kilometers to the nearest market to buy necessities and sell agricultural products, primarily pepper and walnut. One of the villagers said the ladder is as old as the village, maybe hundreds of years. Most of the families live in houses made of mud, thatch, and wood. The villagers said their ancestors chose to live in this difficult place, tied from war and tribal conflicts.
将恢复启用我们的货运索道，建设缆车，我们悬崖村一定会发生翻天覆地的变化。
The village now has its first kindergarten, and the school at the bottom of the mountain has been expanded.
Coming in at number 5, we have Ganvie, the largest floating village in Africa, which is situated in the southern part of the Benin Republic near the port city of Cotonou. Located in the middle of Lake Nokoué, the village is characterized by colorful wooden stilt houses arranged around artificial islands dating back to the 17th century. This unique architecture was born from the history of the Tefinu tribe, who built Ganvie as a refuge from the slave trade. Over time, the village has been sustained by Tefinu's communal socio-ecological agricultural systems, and has now become a global tourist attraction for Benin. In 1996, Ganvie was recognized as a World Cultural Heritage Site by UNESCO, attracting up to 10,000 visitors annually. The Tefinu tribe, a population of skilled West African fishermen known as watermen, lived along the coast of Benin before the 17th century. To protect themselves from the Fon tribe, who sold members of other tribes to Portuguese slave traders, the Tefinu moved their community into the lake. According to their history, the decision to build the village on the lake was not a physical barrier, but also rooted in religious beliefs. These beliefs prohibited the Fon tribe from attacking people on water due to its sacred nature. The Tefinu created an urban system that was sensitive to the aquatic ecosystem, using ephemeral materials to build structures and employ agriculture as a means of urban planning. They named the floating village Ganvie, which means we survived. Today it's home to approximately 45,000 people, living in over 3,000 still buildings of various types. At number 4, we have the residents of the floating villages of
Chong, Kneas.
However, they do not view their water-based lifestyle as a cherished cultural tradition to preserve. When consulted about their living conditions, the villagers expressed a preference for living on land, with access to clean water, sanitation, and proper schools for their children, rather than the poorly maintained floating school they currently have. The floating village is located south of Siem Reap, Cambodia. It has existed for around 300 years and is home to over 1,000 families who rely on fishing for their livelihood. Like other floating villages, the residents live in houseboats and have built a community on the 1,042 square mile Tono Sap Lake, including floating markets, boat docks, schools, and clinics. The water levels in the lake fluctuate seasonally, which affects the daily activities of the local people. Visitors provide an opportunity to explore the unique features of the floating houses, which affects the daily activities of the local people.
Yakutsk.
A city with a population of over 300,000, is located just 300 miles south of the Arctic Circle. The city experiences extremely cold winters, with temperatures so low that residents refrain from wearing eyeglasses outside, as the metal frames can freeze to their skin. Situated on a remote expanse of continuous permafrost,
Yakutsk
serves as the regional capital of the Sakha Republic. The city has an average annual temperature of just 18 degrees Fahrenheit. Buildings are constructed on stilts that are deeply embedded in the ground. This design helps ventilate the underside of the structures and prevents them from melting the permafrost. Additionally, the water and gas lines are frequently situated above ground, winding through the city. Today, it serves as the administrative, political, cultural, and scientific center for the entire Russian Far East Federal Region. In the mid-17th century, and its surrounding region served as a place of exile for Russian revolutionaries. The Russian Empire considered the area a prison without bars due to its severe climate. Its economy underwent a turning point during the industrial development of the 19th and 20th centuries. Today, the city's economy is dominated by regional mining, particularly of coal and diamonds. In fact, companies within the Republic produce 26 of the world's raw diamonds. The region is home to massive gold mining operations that are so large they can be observed from space. In addition to icicles and snow, a dense fog blankets the city where the air is bitterly cold. This fog adds to the city's otherworldly, winter-like appearance. Despite the lengthy 8-month winters, there are certain rewards for those who persevere. As one traveler recounts from her trip, I visited in the summer and everyone takes advantage of the warm weather and long evenings to promenade in the streets. They pick various wild berries all summer. I drank bright red lingonberry juice at every meal. At number 2, we have Larung, which is a remarkable Tibetan site situated at an elevation of 13,000 feet, 4,000 meters. It is a sprawling community of colorful log cabin homes that cling to the hillside surrounding a picturesque valley near Sêrtar. Larung is considered the largest and most active Buddhist institute in the world, with a population that varies between 10,000 and 40,000 people. Recently, it has been the subject of international attention due to actions taken by the Chinese government. In 2016, the government demolished some structures in the area and displaced a number of monks and nuns. Visitors and students can experience the unique spiritual atmosphere of this place, where the red houses are built in accordance with Buddhist tradition. At number 1, we have Rinconada, Peru, which is a settlement with extreme living conditions. Residents face significant hardships, including a lack of clean water and proper sewage systems, as well as toxic mercury contamination from the nearby gold mining operations. Despite the lawlessness, short life expectancy, and health risks posed by the high altitude, people continue to live here, driven by poverty and the hope of striking it rich. Located between 16,000 and 17,000 feet above sea level, Rinconada is the highest permanent human settlement on Earth. The extreme altitude adds substantial health risks to the already challenging living environment, making it both a place of opportunity and desperation for its residents. So why do people live here? Well, yes, it's because of the gold that people are willing to endure so much to live here. Rinconada started as a temporary mining town, but became a permanent settlement due to the gold rush. The town has earned the nickname Devil's Paradise due to lawlessness and criminal gang control.
A veces encontramos unas cuantas chispas de oro, a veces no encontramos. Aquí la mina es un poco, de repente, ya los delincuentes existen, y así mismo también nos dedicamos a tomar de repente algunos.
The conditions are extremely hazardous, and the town is heavily contaminated by mercury from illegal gold mining. The thin air and mercury vapors slowly poison the residents, with mine workers having an average life expectancy of just 30 to 35 years, about half the national average in Peru.
Vivimos con bastante contaminación, de acuerdo a la minería, el basural, así vivimos porque no hay una comodidad acá. Por sofrentar la vida en nuestras tierras natales no hay trabajo. Aquí aquí haciendo un poco de limpieza por donde captamos el agua para llevar a Rinconada, para el consumo.
Despite these horrendous conditions, people continue to voluntarily move to Rinconada, driven by poverty and the dream of striking it rich.
The workers here mine under the so-called cachorreo system. One day a month, they're allowed to keep whatever ore they haul from the mine. Many miners prefer this gamble over receiving regular wages.